They say only two things are infinite: the universe and stupidity. And yet here we are today talking about both of them at the same time. Let's get into it. The United States government has allegedly been hiding evidence of time travel from us. No, this isn't the plot of a new sci-fi movie. It's Project Pegasus, a top-secret CIA initiative from the 1960s that may have had the potential to send agents back in time. At least that's what some conspiracy theorists believe. But before we check out the deets, let's briefly touch on how these theories even started floating around. In 2013, a Freedom of Information Act request revealed the existence of Project Pegasus to the world. This was initiated by an activist named Victor Martinez, who was trying to get his hands on any reports regarding teleportation. What he got was way more than he bargained for. Project Pegasus was no joke. It was led by none other than the CIA's highly secretive and now defunct Technical Services staff, or better known as the Office of Research and Development. They were the ones behind developing all sorts of crazy spy gadgets throughout the Cold War, like the infamous shoe phone. So when they combined forces with the Air Force to work on Project Pegasus, we should have known something big was up. But what exactly was the goal of Project Pegasus? According to documents obtained through that Freedom of Information Act request, the project was focused on the development of a portable teleportation device that could be used for clandestine purposes. Now that sounds pretty far-fetched if you ask me, but apparently the CIA was dead serious. The project's objectives included determining the feasibility of teleportation, developing suitable hardware and software, and conducting a demonstration of the technology. I mean, talk about ambitious. Project Pegasus ran from May 1966 to May 1968 and involved a whopping $400,000, which is equivalent to about $3 million in today's money. That's a lot of cash for a spy project, especially one that seemed to be based on a concept that was more science fiction than reality. But hey, stranger things have happened. So where does time travel come into all of this? Well, that's where things get a little weird. Conspiracy theorists believe that Project Pegasus wasn't just about sending agents through time. It was also about sending children through time. They say that the CIA wanted to create a generation of sleeper agents who would be programmed to carry out missions decades or even centuries later. You know those old-school time-traveling movies where the scientist sends himself back to the past to prevent his own evil counterpart from taking over the world? Yeah, this is kind of like that, except instead of preventing world domination, these time-traveling kids would be sent on covert missions to influence major historical events. Now, before you call me crazy, let me tell you this. There is actually some evidence to support this theory. In a sworn affidavit, a former CIA officer named John W. McCrae claimed that he had heard rumors of a secret facility where children were abducted and trained to become time travelers. Now, to be fair, McCrae's affidavit was written in 2001, so it's not directly related to Project Pegasus. But it adds an interesting layer to the conspiracy. According to McCrae, the facility where these experiments were conducted was located in Virginia and was known as Site R. He said that he had heard from a former colleague that children were given drugs that altered their brainwave patterns and then sent back in time. These children were apparently part of a secret program that was separate from Project Pegasus, but it's possible that they were part of the same overall initiative. There's also a bizarre story from 1976 that involves a group of children who claim to have witnessed a UFO in Texas. The incident was investigated by a local sheriff, but the details were classified and never made public. Some believe that this incident was actually a top-secret CIA mission gone wrong and that the children were unknowingly sent back in time. But the craziest part of the Project Pegasus conspiracy theories is the alleged involvement of former President Ronald Reagan. According to some sources, Reagan was a key player in the development of the time travel program and even gave the order to abduct children for the experiments. Now, obviously, this is pure speculation, and there is no concrete evidence to support it. But it's still a fun theory to explore. Think about it. If anyone had the power and authority to make something like this happen, it would be the president. And who better to send back in time than a former president? Imagine the possibilities. Maybe Reagan went back in time to assassinate Lincoln and become president sooner, or maybe he went back to prevent the Bay of Pigs invasion, or maybe he went back in time to tell himself to wear sunscreen, because damn, that dude aged fast. Just saying. But let's be real here. We will probably never know the truth behind Project Pegasus. The documents that were released through the Freedom of Information Act request don't mention anything about time travel or child abduction, and the CIA has denied the existence of any such programs. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're telling the truth. After all, it was the CIA who once created a fake news network called Operation Mockingbird and used it to control the flow of information during the Cold War. They were also behind a series of illegal and unethical mind control experiments known as Project MKUltra. So it's not beyond the realm of possibility that they were also involved in time travel shenanigans. Plus, the government has a history of covering up all sorts of weird and wacky stuff. Remember the time they tried to hide the fact that Elvis Presley was alive and well in a Wisconsin monastery, or when they tried to cover up the existence of Area 51? Okay. Maybe those weren't real examples, but you get my point. So while we may never know the truth about Project Pegasus, it's fun to speculate. And hey, who knows? Maybe one day the government will release more documents or someone will come forward with more information. Until then, this is just another one of those crazy conspiracy theories that keep us all up at night wondering what the hell is really going on behind closed doors. And if you think that's crazy, just wait till you hear about FISA warrant, baby. Seriously, go check it out. It's one of our most popular episodes. But while you're waiting for that episode to finish uploading, here's a fun little game for you guys to play. How do you feel about the whole time travel thing? I mean, if you were given the opportunity to go back in time and change one thing, would you take it? Or do you think it's better to leave the past in the past? Sound off in the comments below. As for me, I'm torn. On one hand, I'm all about preserving the sanctity of the timeline and keeping the space-time continuum intact. But on the other hand, there are so many things I would love to change, like, telling my younger self to invest in Apple stock or warning people about the dangers of polyester leisure suits in the 1970s. The tough decisions we have to make. Speaking of tough decisions, earlier I mentioned Project MKUltra, the CIA's illegal mind control program. Well, one of the techniques they used was something called sensory deprivation. Basically, they would lock people up in a tank full of water and deprive them of all sensory input to see what would happen. They thought that by removing all external stimuli, they could break down a person's mind and make them more susceptible to suggestion. Needless to say, it didn't work, and it was incredibly uncomfortable for the people involved. So why am I bringing this up now? Well, because sensory deprivation tanks, also known as float tanks, are becoming increasingly popular as a form of relaxation and stress relief. People claim that they can help reduce anxiety, alleviate pain, and promote overall well-being. But some experts warn that sensory deprivation can actually be harmful, especially for people who have certain mental health conditions. But here's the thing, there is limited scientific evidence to support these claims. Most of the research on sensory deprivation has been conducted by the military and intelligence agencies like the CIA, and it's not exactly reliable. Plus, the people who have the most to gain from promoting sensory deprivation tanks are the tank owners themselves. After all, if more people start using them, that means more business for them. So what's the verdict? Are sensory deprivation tanks a harmless form of relaxation, or are they a dangerous mind control tool? I'll let you be the judge. But personally, I'll stick to regular old bubble baths. Thanks for watching. As always, stay happy and healthy, and remember, you matter.